Good morning.
Good morning.
It's been a while, but for good reason, real life things. But also, I decided after my last video, which was a few weeks ago now, that there was a bit of work that I needed to do, and I was avoiding it by just doing an oil change and pretending everything was fine. So I decided to do that thing. So I've got a new camshaft, a new followers, a new timing chain and a new sprocket for that Rover 3.5 litre V8. And so that's what I'm going to be doing in this video. So at the current time of filming, I'm about 75% complete. But I have recorded everything up to now, so we'll start there and then we'll come up to where we are now. So yeah, sit back, relax, get that kettle on. I'm with you in spirit, although I still don't have a kettle, so you'll just have to like pretend. And yeah, let's do this. Right, disclaimer. This is the first time I'm doing anything like that. Usually, if I get an engine for a car, I'll get the engine, find out if it runs. Usually, get it running on the floor, and then put it in. That's it. Whereas this is the first time I've put one in and then realised it's not okay, bro, and it needs some work. So this is the first time I'm doing anything like this. So I'm taking it nice and slow, and that's why I'm recording all of it, because I don't want to mess this up. Right, come on, let's go. For those of you, look at the absolute clip of that camshaft. Can you see the differentiation between the two colours? The discoloration there shows significant wear. Look at that one. Look at that. That's supposed to be like, there's supposed to be a peak on that. It's supposed to be like a bit of an apex, like a rise. Some of these are almost flat. Not good. Not good. Very glad I'm doing this now. So new cam, new followers. I'm going to check all the push rods for if they're still straight. Some of them are seized in place, as in they will not rotate. So I need to check all I'll take these rocker assemblies off. That's my next worry, is I'm going to have to check all the shaft for wear. I'm going to check all of these cups, make sure none of the castings are broken. So I'll take it all apart, check it all for damage, check it all for wear, and then replace what I need to replace. Right, because I intend to reuse these push rods, I've got front there, rear there, left bank, right bank, and I've kept them all in order. So I thought I'd show you the condition of one of these. That is, look at the dish on that. Oh, let's get into focus. Look at that. That's excessive wear when they start to dish like that. Okay, they all need to be replaced. Holy moly. So here's a side-by-side comparison. This is the front of the engine. You can see that ring and the dishing in them all. Not cool. There's one or two which aren't as bad, but are still quite bad. The wear is so significant, you can see it starting to chip away. Sorry, that's my hand. You can see it starting to chip away at it. That is, wow, that's advanced wear to the point where, look at this one. Look at that. Holy moly, not good. I'm glad I caught this when I did. So these all need replacing, obviously. Very good, very good. Right, next is get the cam out. So I've got the timing cover off, which took me, well, I'm embarrassed how long it took me to get it on. But you can just see how slack that chain is. All that play. Not cool. Let me try and find a good example. So this one here, where my thumb is, you can see that lobe has quite worn away there. Whereas if I find the lobe on this one, without knocking the camera too much, Look at the points on these. Look at the rises on that cam. In fact, you don't even have to see, just look at the difference in the peaks. Completely worn. Right, this is the part where we go back on. So I've managed to get the woodruff key out, and I did that by hammering it that way towards the way, and it pops up like that. You can just pull it out. That needs to go back in. It needs to be pressed in, but I feel like I could just give it a squeeze in. No, it needs to be pressed in. Press! Right, press. Go flat. Beautiful. Cheers, press. Now I'm using an important part to remember. These will come all lubed up, but I wouldn't trust the lube that comes with them. You want some proper engine assembly lube, which is ultra slick, super fast, a million times Superman engine assembly lube. Okay, that's all I'm using. It doesn't have to be perfect, as long as it's sort of some sort of engine assembly lube. And it is mucho sticky. It's like strawberry jam. Oh, what am I doing? Come on, Frank. Good. Right, now I know I'm usually quite blasé with torque specifications, but you know, usually I'm all about T and FT, aren't I? Tight and fucking tight. But these do, yeah, these do need to be torque to specification. And just for proof, I've got my torque wrenches here, right? I am going to do this, right? And if you do this, you need to do it as well. You can't just eyeball these. It's got to be right. So I'll tighten this up for now. And then when it's in the engine, I've got the chain on, it's all the timing's right, I can then tighten everything up to how it's supposed to be. But for now, I'll just nip that up. Okay. Get it in the engine, I suppose, get it in the car. Lube it up, get it in the car. So, just as a point of reference, on the crank gear there's a small dot, and then on the cam gear there is a small indicator. Now on this is a 3.5 litre, so dot up, indicator up, 12 o'clock, easy peasy. Then slide this gear out. They only go on one way because the woodruff keys stop them moving. Oh. Get on the thing. Well, I reckon there. Right. That is 12 o'clock. That is 12 o'clock. Am I 1/2 thou? No. I don't want to be. No, that's fucking bob on that. Yeah, happy with that. Now whilst these were sort of soaking a little bit, all I've got this mixture is just paint thinner and like old petrol out of a 70s school bus. Just mixed it all together and then just let them soak. I'm keeping left and right bank. I'm doing one alternating each time. I'm on the last two now. And it won't get all of it off, but it'll get the worst of it off, if you know what I mean. I'm just conscious of how it was before everything was stuck and gunged up and minging, so I mean, look at that. Look at that. So yeah, I'm just trying to clean it as best as I can. So far, none of them have been bent or rolling weird. As far as I can see, they're going out and coming back exactly the same way. So hopefully, unless this last one's completely knackered, I can reuse these, which is good news. Once I've done this, what I want to do is have a look at the rocker assemblies. I've got them here. I need to have a closer look at that. Just clean them up, bit of a brush down, use the same petrol solution, bit of a brush, just so I can get a closer look at the castings and make sure nothing's cracked or broke, because you can get a ticking sound from a casting on one of the rockers if that cracked or whatever, you know. So I want to have a look at them as well. As far as I could see, I pulled these back. Let's try not to lose any of them. Pulling these back and checking the condition of the shaft, I'm quite content that the shafts are quite still serviceable. There's no excessive wear, nothing's got caught in there, there's no massive gouges or grooves. I've had a look at these hunky-dory, rather good.com. So I'm going to give these a clean, and then I'm going to start putting everything back on and buttoning the engine back up. Yes. Now, the question of preload. Now, I've done a lot of research into this because I needed to find out whether or not I needed to do it or not, and find out what the crack was, find out what the technique was, and what the parameters were. Now, this is an original 3.5 litre V8. So the distances between the rocker assembly, which sits on these pedestals, the length of the push rods, and the geometry between the cam lobes, the lifters, the push rods, these rocker arms, these pedestals and the valves are set as they are, right? There's no shims, there's no any weird distances or anything like that. They're set preload as they are out the factory, and that's that. However, if you've had your heads off, if you've had your head skimmed, if you've got a different than original standard specification cam in, so a high lift cam or something like that, or if you've had any work or machining work done on the engine, your tolerances and your distances will be different. Which is why you'll see people with, when they're putting their rocker assembly back on, they'll be measuring the preload, and then they'll be putting little different size spacers or shims in between the heads and the rocker assembly pedestals to extend that distances so that the preload becomes as it should. However, if everything's as it should be, and if everything's original, the heads haven't been ground, there's nothing's been skimmed, there's no material being took off that original engine, I'm not putting a fancy cam in, it's the original cam, you should be able to put the rocker assembly back on, bolt it up, job's a good one. I'm going to do that, because a big warning sign for me that I was looking out for was when I was taking these off looking for shims. Couldn't see any. I was looking for any signs of machining or anything throughout the engine so that I could see whether or not it needs. So what I'm gonna do is bolt one side on, bolt both sides on actually, and then measure the preload, which you do with different sized pieces of metal, checking the distances between the cups of the hydraulic lifters, so however much they're forced down, because it's important, because if there is too much pressure on these arms, it means that the rocker arm will be pushing slightly on the valve, which means the valve will be slightly open, ergo you will lose compression, your engine won't run properly. So it is quite important. So I'm going to bolt them down, I'm going to check the preload, all fingers crossed, should be good, should be fine. This is where we're at now. Rockers are back on, push rods are nice and clean, they've all been put in. New lifters are all in, everything's lubed up, new cams in, all lubed up. Yum, 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 yum. New sprocket, new timing chain. Look at the play in that. Only a tiny bit, but that's under tension that side, fantastic. Also, take note, I've put a small little white line on all of the push rods so that I can see them rotating when this goes. All that's left now is for me to timing cover back on. I've put a new water pump on as well, by the way. Very nice. So yeah, gaskets and everything back on. Once it's all back together, it's getting some oil in it and breaking it in. Now for these, for a new cam, you must change the cam and the lifters together, I believe, after the research that I've done. And when you're breaking it in, the engine oil, high zinc, right? There are some that are like old diesel oils and that supposedly used to have zinc in them, now do not. So you have to buy it specifically. It's not that expensive, actually. To buy normal, modern, fancy pants oil was more expensive, so it's not bad at all. I got mine from a company called Rye Oil, 2050 engine oil, low detergent, high zinc, multi-grade mineral oil. They sell it as like a racing engine oil. Anyway, so I'm going to bang that in. And all that is, if you'll remember back to the video where I did the oil change, the high zinc is more sort of a sacrificial layer within that oil. So you remember I was talking about the oil between the metal parts. The metal parts should never meet in that engine, and that's what the oil's for. Well, this is going to be, that new cam needs to bed in with its other counterparts so that it wears in together and it all works more efficiently, most efficiently. And so the zinc in that oil is going to act as a sacrificial layer. And once I've broke this in, which is a period of about 20 to 30 minutes, I will need to change that oil. This oil is only there specifically for this break-in period. So let's get it all back on. Let's get it all going in, and then yeah, we'll break it in. Yeah. So I don't think you have to put stuff on this, gasket maker on this, but I'm going to. It's a high temperature gasket maker. I don't go off brands, I just get one. Not too much now, but liberally enough so that it can make a bit of a seal, a little bit of a bead. These are the points on the end where you want to seal them. Oh, yes. Anything on the inside, you can see when I do this one, scrape it off. You don't want that going through your oil pump if you can. Good. I think altogether on this, changing the cam, it's probably got about 10 hours, I think, so far. That's over a couple of days. Now, the only problem with taking the pulleys off, especially that main crank, this big one, is that it's a bugger to get off and it's a bugger to get back on because of just how much it needs to be tightened back on there. I mean, the main crank pulley on these is between 150 and 200 foot-pounds, so it's a lot. And to do that without, because you've got to stop without turning the engine over involuntarily, you have to try and jam the engine, which I have a way of doing, and I'll show you in a minute. So before you, I can hear you down in the comments already. Yes, there's a number of different ways you can do that. You can put the handbrake on, you can put it in reverse, you can, crank the engine over to get the main bolt out, and there's loads of different ways you can do it. But unfortunately, I've tried a lot of those, and a lot of those just wouldn't work for me in that situation. So the way I've got round it is just by jamming a crowbar basically against the flywheel. It's crude, but it works. So yeah, I'll quickly show you in a second. So I use 2 pry bars. One I wedge up as much as I can next to the pressure plate. You can see, so I'm trying to wedge the pressure plate, not the clutch or flywheel side. And then I'll pass this one through here, and then I'll pull it round the oil sump, and that applies pressure to that first one I've put in there. Hopefully now. Come on. Okay. Boom. Right, now that's on, what next? I want to get this back to top dead centre, and then what I want to do, you can see I've turned it 1 revolution already, and you can see that some of them are starting to turn. So I want to do a few full revolutions, have a look at valve train, have a look if there's anything that looks wrong, have a feel of the rockers, and any that are really loose, have a feel of everything, have a look of everything, get the radiator back in, and then braking period next. Yeah. Cool. There? What the fuck? Surely not. There? Well, okay. It's pointing northeast. We've got northeast. You wouldn't have Adam and Eve it, would you? It's just gone straight in. But the timing's completely off for some reason. So timing is crucial. Well, let me see. Right, the orientation of how this distributor is means where your spark is going to happen on which spark plug. And especially now I've got new parts in, when I fire this up, I want it to fire up straight away so that I could run it at a certain RPM so that I can supply oil to the rest of the engine and let those new parts bed in. I was under the impression, falsely, that would be a slot in there and that I could get a screwdriver down there, just a flathead, and spin it over. I would just break this handle off and get a drill and to supply the oil. However, it's not. It's that way. So there's a blade in there, and this end is the reciprocating dealie. So when I was putting this in and it wasn't lining up, I needed to get down into there to spin that little blade, and I got there using one of these. A little bit fiddly, but it works pretty well. How did I get, where's the light? There's the light. So all the way down in, grab hold of that blade. Oh. And I can spin it. So where do I want this? Because before I dismantled the engine, I marked a little bit of white paint where top dead centre is. Very bloody glad I did that, to be honest. Otherwise I'd be in the right shit. Right, so if that's there, so my blade wants to be north-northeast ish. Near as damn it. Stay there, please. Which is near as damn it now. Yeah. Right. Wish me luck. But obviously I can't just bang it on top dead centre like that and slip it in, because this gear is helical, so I have to offset it, and then hopefully I get the right groove and it slides into place correctly. So we'll go that much, maybe, probably, possibly, maybe, who knows. Do you know what, almost, very nearly. I mean, it's nitpicking. No. Is it nitpicking? I want to be one more tooth to the right. Am I happy with that? I'm going to carry on with this, and I'll get back to you. I'll see you in a minute.
346 minutes later.
So we're all buttoned up. We've got the timing sorted. Beep. Oh. Ooh. So I'm quite content with where we are at the minute. All that's left, everything's all buttoned back up. The whole engine bay's back full of stuff again. And all that's left to do now is to introduce a new oil in, get some water in, and then fire it up and start running it through its braking procedure. Now I'm not going to do that today because I've run out of time for today. I've got dinner waiting at home. So without further ado, I'd like you to look forward to the next video, which will be doing that. And I'm going to talk you through that as well, because there's a couple of no-nos to avoid when you're doing a bit of a braking procedure. But everyone has their own opinion. It's just going to be a video on how I'm going to do it. So, yeah, that's all I've got time for today. So thank you very much for watching. I know there's about 3 or 4 of you still there. I know, Sanjeev, you're there every week. I know you are. So give us a like if you like the video. Please subscribe if you want to see more. I've got loads of stuff on the scimitar. I've got some more videos on the scimitar coming up as well, which I've just picked up some new bits for. And now the weather's going to start getting better, I can actually do some more on it. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. If you don't like it, for whatever reason, give me a thumbs down, but please put down in the comments, please put down there why, so that I can learn and get better. So thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.